Philip Kennedy Johnson, Becky Cloonan, and Michael W. Conrad continue their story set forth by a future state as Superboy tries his best to stop his father from dying in an event he learned about in the future, while Midnighter wrestles with the new supercomputer in his head as he targets the present-day Andre Trojan before the man becomes a villainous future robot. Philip Kennedy Johnson continues the Golden Age story arc he began in Superman issue 29, giving us a wonderful story about children growing up and how they learn life lessons from seeing their own parents fall. The story progressed very well, even more so than I thought it was going, as the heroes learned that Waller is behind this and involved in it, which is something I didn't think would happen yet, as well as ties in Mongol, which looks like they are definitely heading into the direction of the Future State Worlds of War book, which saw Superman captured by Mongol and forced to fight in his arenas, and will no doubt play in the way that people believe that Superman is dead. Probably the most surprising and really heartwarming part of the book was the Golden Age narration, which this issue we learn is by Pa Kent. In a great lesson he taught Clark, in which Clark is now teaching his own son. It's a fantastic bit of writing that echoes the famous words from Jor-El in the Superman movie: "The father becomes the son, and the son becomes the father." Becky Cloonan and Michael W. Conrad meanwhile directly follow on from their great Midnighter storyline in Future State as we pick up with the anti-hero who is very much trying to sort out Andre Trojan in the present. I like the idea that the character, while getting his supercomputer back, there's the caveat now that he has a devil on his shoulder in the form of a future version of the villain he's pursuing. It's quite a unique setup for Midnighter, and on top of that, we have a worried Apollo doting over Lucas, although we never actually see Apollo, only hear him being worried, which makes me think there is something nefarious going on there. And I do like that there is sort of this thing that Midnighter doesn't particularly want to see Apollo, being that Apollo was the man who was attacking him in the future because Andre made himself look like Apollo, which I thought was kind of fucked up. And I have no doubt we're going to learn that him actually going to the future and doing that and then coming back to the past is what actually put all of these events in motion, which would be quite a cool twist. Phil Hester returns to the Golden Age arc again and provides some lovely mid-2000s feel to the book that I never knew I wanted back in my comics. I really enjoy his very angular artwork and how he makes the faces all filled with sharp angles and whatnot, and how he depicts big fight scenes, using scale to his advantage and hi-fi's colours to great effect. Michael Avon Deming picks up the Midnighter storyline again, and much like Phil Hester's work, I can't help but get a great mid-2000s feel from the story. Michael's artwork was brutal in all of the right places for Midnighter, not shying away from the blood and violence and creative kills the character is known for. Action Comics issue 1029 was a great continuation of the Golden Age arc and Midnighter's continued future state adventures in the present, giving us a great taste of cool Superman action and drama, and further solidifying Philip Kennedy Johnson as a great Superman writer, mixing it all together with a unique and fun Midnighter storyline that I can't wait to see where that goes. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10. Action Comics issue 1029 finds the injured Superman and Superboy return to space to battle the green aliens from the tear in reality. A voice knows that this is the day where the child's heroes fall, and the day the shield that was protecting the child against all threats is suddenly and forcefully knocked aside, leaving them vulnerable. One of the aliens destroys the Starlab satellite, causing the heroes to disengage to help the people aboard. Superboy pushes the satellite away from the battle as Superman blasts the aliens with his heat vision, pushing them back into the void as it closes, making his way to the space lab. The heroes check on everyone, finding that gravity is gone and oxygen is failing as more aliens are spotted from the tear. The supers get to work fixing what they can as Clark asks what it will take to get the reality breach closed permanently. The scientists say it was meant to be closed by now and they don't know how it can still be open, but one theorizes they need to close it from the other side. The downside being the person who does so will be stuck on the other side with the monsters, but the breach was open from this side, so he doesn't know if it makes any sense. The heroes learn that Starlabs did this this, and Superman wants an explanation as gravity kicks in. The scientists say that it was an accident and they tried to seal it, but director Amanda Waller got wind of the project and said it was important because it was having an effect on Superman. They tell the heroes the singularity cannon they have has an independent energy source, so they could take it through the breach and use it to close it forever. Superman says that when all of this is over, he, the scientist, and Waller are going to have one long talk that they are not going to like. Superman goes to leave, but John says he's injured, wanting his father to stay there and protect the station while he goes to deal with the monsters. Clark says that he's not just going to let his son do this alone, asking what he saw in the future and what he's afraid of. John says his father thinks that he can't see, but he's bleeding on the inside and his bones are cracking and he won't make it another round. Clark knows that he's beaten tougher things, but John says that this is one thing he doesn't make it back from, and books have been written about this and he's read them. John reveals that this is the last documented incident that Superman is a part of on Earth, and maybe the last, and according to the books, the aliens come through tougher each time and become too much for Superman to handle, and while they don't know exactly what happened to him, he's not around after this, so they obviously think he's dead. John pleads with his father to get the people to safety, and he will handle this, but Clark can see his son is scared, and while he took some hits, it's not as bad as he thinks, and while maybe he's getting a little older, he's been doing this for a very long time, and a lot of people are counting on them. He promises John that he's a long way from done, and they have got this. After a moment, John agrees, heading out into space with his father to get the cannon, racing towards the breach with it. Superman is knocked away, dropping the cannon as he fights the relentless horde of aliens off. Soon he becomes overwhelmed by a giant alien, which fires a beam at him, but Superboy jumps in the way, taking the blast himself as a voice knows that the shield is knocked away and the children are let down, but soon they step out of the shadow and they look down at their own shadow and find that they have grown tall and brave and strong. Superboy smashes the monster back into the void as Superman goes to grab the cannon, but before he can, Superboy races past him, taking the weapon and flying directly into the void himself. Inside the alien void, Superboy activates the cannon, firing it, and as fast as a speeding bullet, flies out of the void, beating the laser. The resulting blast from the laser blows Superman and Superboy clear of the area as the void is sealed. The heroes head to Earth, where Clark says that he let his son down, since he was so sure that he was going to die out there and he didn't even consider John might be right. He apologizes to his son, who says that he's proud of how he handled things, joking how his Superman days of usefulness might be numbered. John doesn't get it though, since he was so sure the history books say that today was the day his father died, but Clark knows it's obvious that it's different now because John is there with him. John asks what if it almost is his father's time, and how is he supposed to be ready for that? Clark tells John about the time Pa Kent fell off a ladder at the farm. Clark says that he was a little bit embarrassed for his father, making up excuses like the wind did it, or he could have even fallen from that height, but Jonathan knows that it was his own fault, telling his son of the golden age where every child knows their parents are indestructible and a kid is meant to feel they can take risks and figure out limits, but everybody falls and that's okay, and someday Clark's own kids will see him fall and that's okay as well. Clark knows that when his child stepped out of their golden age and started to test themselves, he will know it was all worth it and John is going to be just fine. Elsewhere, a group of aliens watch the heroes, knowing Superboy is powerful and continues to grow even more powerful by the day. A being says the sun is an infant and not the real prize, as Superman is. The baby alien says the sun was right and Superman is dying, as a being with only one arm wonders if a being like Superman can truly wither or die. But Mongol says that Superman still lives, and all who live must die. Elsewhere, Midnighter breaks up the meeting of a group of gun-wielding goons, really glad to have his fully operational supercomputer in his brain again. More men arrive via speedboat, which Midnighter knows is early, but he's ready for them thanks to the supercomputer. The men find their beat-in friends and a hammer and chain-wielding Midnighter, who tells himself that he's on the right side of this and he can go to sleep at night and everyone is the hero in their own story. But he knows he's not. He's Midnighter and he's the bad guy and he sleeps just fine because of it. He quickly kills one of the men before wrapping the other in the chain and anchor, dropping him in the water, knowing that the supercomputer says that he will drown in 43 seconds, but Midnighter says he'll pull him out at 44 seconds, just to see what will happen for science. Later, Lucas goes home to watch a news report on Untitled Trojan, the man he knows from the future who turns himself into a killer robot. He remembers being part of that future before being stuck in the past, salvaging tech from Trojan's future robot brain to restore his own supercomputer. The news interviews Trojan about his new book, asking if he's truly a robot, but the man says he's not, at least not yet, but he has a supercomputer in his brain, explaining his next steps to eliminate the biological need for pain, suffering, and desire. Lucas suddenly hears the robot Trojan's voice in his head, seeing the man has benefited from the upgrade. Lucas tells him to get out of his head, picking up the future villain's robot skull, but Trojan says that he's now deeper in Lucas's mind than anyone has gone before. Lucas threatens to cut him out, and Trojan knows he won't, and they both know he can't since they need each other to get back to the future. Trojan explains that he wants the two of them to be friends with each other and help each other out, but Lucas knows he's still going to pay the present-day Trojan a visit before he heads back to his timeline. Soon, Apollo knocks on the door asking if Lucas is going to be any longer, but Lucas just tells him he's just wrapping up. Lucas leaves the skull behind as Trojan says that he doesn't need to tell Midnighter that Apollo is on to him and what he's doing. As Lucas gets some water and heads to bed, the future Trojan's voice rings out in his head, saying that he slept alone in a dirty room ever since he got back to this timeline, knowing Apollo would know the difference, but wonders if maybe he would like the older Midnighter. Trojan wonders if Lucas can ever be jealous of himself like he is now, as later, the man says Apollo is off limits to the voice. Trojan can see he's letting emotions get in the way, something that prevents meatlings like him from achieving greatness. Midnighter gets to work, but again, Trojan's voice scratches at the back of his brain, saying emotions are obsolete and he is the solution, and Midnighter needs to embrace this and upgrade to greatness and transcend. Midnighter has had enough, screaming at the skull to shut up, not wanting to hear its rhetoric anymore, since if they have to work together, they both need to think about this. Trojan says the skull he's yelling at and has been yelling at is no longer him, since he's been uploaded into Midnighter's brain in the supercomputer, so they are one being now. Apollo comes knocking, knowing things are beginning to worry him, as Trojan suggests that maybe he should answer that door finally. Answer that